Hey everyone, welcome to the Them Before Us podcast. I'm your host, Jenn Friesen. I'm also the training director for Them Before Us. Today we have a great conversation with Daniel Parks, who's the executive director of an organization called Love Life. And Daniel will also be a speaker alongside Katie Faust at the Abundant Life Conference here in the Seattle area at the end of October. Daniel, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, glad to be able to join. I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about what we're doing as a ministry, and I'm excited for the Abundant Life Conference coming up here in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so please start with just telling us maybe just a little bit about yourself. Do you live in the Seattle area too? I assume. No, you're on the East Coast.
No. Yeah, I'm on the East Coast, so yeah, I'm out here in Charlotte, North Carolina, in God's country.
Wow, and you've got some weather issues, some crazy stuff going on over there.
Yeah, we've had some pretty crazy stuff. Actually, about 2 hours or so from where I'm sitting right now, entire communities were just devastated by the Helene hurricane, really by flooding and just unprecedented rainfall through that. And actually, whole communities were wiped off the map. I mean, we're talking whole towns. And so we're actually, as a ministry, doing something to try to help bring some relief. We're actually partnering with Every Life, the only pro-life diaper company. I don't know if you guys are aware of them, to get about 30,000 diapers out there to families that are in need, because they're basically without nothing: food, water, and essentials. And that's just something we feel called to help, meet that need.
Yeah, I have some of our work colleagues are in North Carolina, Charlotte area, and then I have a friend that I was chatting to, and what I have been very encouraged by is even though we can watch the news and we see maybe there's some frustration with the federal response, there has been a lot of Christian ministries or churches or friends or neighbors really rallying together to help each other, which is a really encouraging. I mean, that's kind of, I think, an encouraging thing about the American people in a lot of ways. And then, but Christianity, of course, Christian brothers and sisters, I think always step in when those things happen, which is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the government can certainly do a lot, I guess, but in reality, I think the church is far more effective in helping meet needs, and because the needs aren't just physical, they're also spiritual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, and okay, so you're the executive director of Love Life. Can you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that organization?
Yeah. Well, first I'll tell a little bit about myself, and just maybe a little bit about how I got involved in pro-life ministry, and then I'll jump into some about the ministry of Love Life. So I'm again the executive director of Love Life, but first I'm a follower of Jesus. I've been walking with the Lord since 2001, when He changed my life just by the power of the gospel. My wife and I have 8 children. My wife, Courtney, is actually on our team with Love Life, and she runs kind of our she does our admin nationally for Love Life. But yeah, we have 8 kids. We're blessed, as a family, and we serve as a family together in this ministry. I have served in pro-life ministry since 2005, and really how the Lord got a hold of me in the area of pro-life ministry was I was brought out to an abortion clinic. As a Christian, I walked with the Lord, so got saved in 2001, and then, immediately believed abortion was wrong, but really in my mind, it was something that happened over there somewhere. It was a political issue, not really a personal issue, until I was brought out to an abortion clinic. And I realized, like, right in front of me, as I'm watching women walk into that place, that babies are dying. I feel like the Holy Spirit spoke into my heart in that moment. Babies are dying right here, right now. What are you going to do about it? And I felt like I needed to get involved. And so I started going out to one of the abortion centers here in Charlotte, offering hope and alternatives to women that are going into the abortion centers, and trying to turn them away to pro-life pregnancy centers and other resources, churches that are available to meet their needs. And then so that was in 2005 when I started doing that under my local church. And there was kind of a scattered group of people that were there. We ultimately came together and formed something called Cities for Life. Actually, the Benham brothers, some businessmen here in the Charlotte area, formed this ministry called Cities for Life back in 2010. And really a concerted effort to bring some churches together and bring some individuals together and some other ministries together to help meet the crisis that was happening in our city, which is at that point probably 40 to 50 babies dying every day, 6 days a week in the city of Charlotte. And so Cities for Life grew and it was very successful. And then Love Life actually is sort of sprung out of Cities for Life when a friend of mine, Justin Reeder, was brought out to the abortion center. And he saw the very same thing I saw, women walking in and going in with a living child in their womb and leaving their dead baby inside and being themselves devastated. And his question really was like, where's the church? The church should be here. Like if this was a place where we knew 20 to 30 children are dying, if it was a place where we knew a school shooting was taking place, like the church would be on the scene. There would be SWAT, there would be ambulances, there would be people doing something about this. And yet here it is happening in a cul-de-sac in our city, and very few people know about it. And the church really is not present when 20 to 30 babies are dying here every day, 6 days a week. And so the Lord downloaded a strategy into Justin's heart as just a businessman. He had a, entrepreneurial mindset. And so God gave him this strategy that became Love Life to really get churches to adopt weeks where they focus on the issue of life as a church. The pastor preaches a message on life on Sunday, and then the church prays and fasts on Wednesday, and then they come out to a prayer walk at that abortion center on Saturday that's facilitated by our team. And then we give people an opportunity to connect beyond the prayer walk after that prayer walk to different volunteer opportunities. And so that happened in 2016 when Love Life started. And then it began to grow. And I was kind of, an outsider looking in. I was part of another ministry and just seeing what God was doing through Love Life. And I told Justin, like, man, if there's anytime, if there's an opportunity for us to merge together and to put our efforts together, I'm more than willing to do that. And so we did in 2020 as the Lord actually grew the ministry through COVID. I won't get into all the details of that, but actually God used COVID to grow our ministry across the United States of America. And we merged Cities for Life and Love Life together in 2020. And we've seen some pretty amazing things that the Lord's doing across the nation and mobilizing churches. And that really is our heart. Our heart is not to be the experts as a ministry to, say, hey, church, we got this. You just give us money and we'll handle the problem. No, we actually believe the church is the solution, not Love Life or any pro-life organization, as great as pro-life organizations are. Jesus said the gates of hell would not prevail against the church. And so we believe really that the church and pastors are the solution to the problem of abortion and really to the problem of any of the issues that we face, because Jesus has given the keys to the kingdom to his church. And the church is what God has called to affect change in our communities.
I think Christians kind of get a bad rap in the culture, maybe just conservatives politically, about you only care about babies until they're born, right?
Right.
And I think organizations like what you're sharing, even partnering with a diaper organization during this crisis in North Carolina, is a perfect example that Christians really do want to care about children holistically, families holistically. And so, are there ways that Love Life, or what are some of the practical things that you do? It sounds like you're present, you're praying and doing a prayer walk at
Yeah.
abortion clinics. What are some other things that you guys do?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll just say that whole idea that Christians, pro-lifers, only care about babies before they're born and then after they're born, we could care less. That's all a farce. It's all a lie. Um, and that's borne out in the fact that Christians, far and above any other group, are those that are doing foster care, that are adopting children. Far and above any other groups, Christians are the ones that are providing right now the stuff that we're seeing here in Western North Carolina. It's Christian groups that are actually meeting those needs.
Mm.
And that's all just kind of it's a farce. It's something that's put out there to make us maybe even feel bad or look bad. But I will say this, that if we really believe that through abortion that children are dying, if we really believe that God sees the same value for a child at 6 weeks in the womb as he does a child at 6 months outside of the womb, then even if we didn't provide anything beyond just a voice for those children, we would be perfectly justified. Like if we
Mhm.
really believe that abortion is murder, that it takes a human life, we would be justified in just speaking for those babies. Now, by God's grace, we do far more than that. We actually, one of the main ministries that we provide is we train mentors. These are individuals, men and women that are well-seasoned Christians that have raised their hand and they said, I will walk with a family that chooses life, and I will walk with them for up to a year. And now many of them, and we have mentors that have been walking with a mom that chose life for 6, 7 years. We ask them to commit to 1 year, walking alongside a family, walking with them through their pregnancy and beyond, rallying their church around that family, around that mom. Oftentimes it is a single mom, to throw them a baby shower and provide some of the practical needs. Many of our mentors drive the women to their doctor appointments, and we've had many of our mentors that have been in the delivery room with that mom as she delivers their baby. So that's one of the things that we do that's just a very tangible picture of the body of Christ, really being the hands and feet of Jesus. Some of the things that we do too is we have some women that choose life for their babies that maybe don't want a mentor. And so what we'll do oftentimes is we'll put it out on our social media, in our circles, and we'll put together Amazon registry. And I mean, it's within a matter of hours, all of the items that a woman needs are purchased and sent directly to her door through something like that. So that's just a couple of the things that we do. Beyond, we have some of our churches that we partner with rally around women. We had just a couple of weeks ago a woman that was about to be evicted. She chose life for her baby. Actually, she had twins, and so she chose life for her babies. And she was about to be evicted. She'd gotten behind on her rent and just had an abusive situation that she was in with her boyfriend. And we rallied the church around her to keep her from eviction. We're able to help pay all of her back rent. She was back about 3 months of rent, so we were able to pay all of that, and then give her a month extra of rent, some groceries and things like that, and connect her with a financial counselor to help sort through her finances so that she could get solidly on her feet. And so she's doing well. And so that's just one story of many of how the church really rallies around. We don't see ourselves as the solution to a problem. We're just sort of a guide to get the church to the problem. We believe the church is a solution, and so we point the church, hey, here's a mom that needs help. And man, when the church finds out, when people find out, they rally around these moms and these families. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is great. I love just thinking about all the practical ways that churches can come alongside people who are struggling. Yeah, like you're saying, a financial counselor. So many folks haven't been taught, here's how we budget, here's how
Yeah,
and we've talked about this on some other episodes about the federal government spends, raises taxes, spends some more.
sure.
If it was handling its business like a family, it's like you're millions of dollars in debt and you just keep opening new credit cards. But unfortunately, a lot of times we treat the credit system and stuff as for emergencies. We don't know how to get out of that problem, that cycle.
Sure.
And so even things like that, someone who can offer the immediate assistance, but then, hey, we're going to set you up with someone who can help you
Yeah.
plan better financially. Now that's such a great trajectory for that mom to be on.
Yeah.
And I love the Amazon registry thing. We mentioned Ali B. Stuckey, I think, in our email exchanges of she's a very prominent voice for conservatives and Christians in the pro-life movement too, but she'll often post a crisis pregnancy centers list of what they need.
Yeah.
And it gets, well, of course, she's got 800,000 followers, but it gets filled so quickly. It's back to your point.
Yeah.
Christians care about moms too. And I was
Absolutely.
curious, what kind of things do you help a church understand when they're going to go pray or be at a Planned Parenthood? We had Abby Johnson on and we talked about, there's kind of folks who might stand outside of Planned Parenthood and think the people in there are the enemy
Yeah.
and want to yell at them or, scream or have certain graphic pictures or whatever, which maybe there is
Sure.
a place for that. But she was won over because there were people who prayed quietly and knew
Yeah.
her by name for years. And so I'm just curious kind of what your strategy is when it comes to being present at an
Yeah.
abortion center.
Yeah, so we kind of have two veins, if you will, as it pertains to being present at the abortion centers. We call them the darkest places in our cities. One of those strategies, and kind of the main strategy, is like I explained, getting churches to adopt a week, and that adoption week will culminate in a peaceful prayer walk at the abortion center. And it really is that. It's kind of like a church service at an abortion center, as strangely as that might sound. But we typically have a launching point, maybe a local park or something like that. Actually, here in Charlotte, we own the property right next to the busiest abortion center in the Southeast. And so we start there. We start with prayer and worship. We have a pastor share maybe a charge to be praying, and then we actually bring folks in an actual walk from that property around to in front of the abortion center, and we pray. And we're not holding up signs. We're not calling out to anyone going into the abortion center. We're not yelling at anyone. We're literally there praying, and we're interceding and praying for the moms that are inside. We're interceding and praying for the dads. I mean, for every mom, there's also a dad, right? It takes two to make a baby. And so we're praying for those dads. And it's amazing what God can do in changing those dads' hearts. We also pray for the abortion workers, and oftentimes we're praying for the abortionists. We're not praying imprecatory prayers that God would smite them. We're praying that God would really change their hearts. And we've seen that. We actually saw that in Ontario, Oregon recently. One of the abortion workers inside the Planned Parenthood there was actually, he was let go. But because the church was there and because our team was there reaching out to him over the course of 2 years and just saying, hey, we're praying for you, Alfonso, he actually sought the team out after he was let go and said, basically, guys, I need to talk to you. Poured his heart out, repented. And then the next, so that was on a Monday when he actually got in touch with the team there and repented and said, hey, I'm done with this industry. I'm sorry for my involvement in it. That Thursday, he was actually out in front of that same Planned Parenthood holding up a sign saying, pray for abortion workers. And so that's the power of prayer. So that's one vein that we're out there praying. All of our folks, we encourage them to show up. We have these shirts that say "We Love Life" on them. They're these blue, bright colored shirts, and it just shows the unity of the church. As there's different churches that are out there, we're partnering with any evangelical church that will come out there, that will stand and pray. And really, it's the unity. We see Baptists next to Presbyterians, next to Pentecostals, next to Calvary Chapel, non-denominational, charismatic, the whole vein of the evangelical church. They're praying, and so just that display of unity is so powerful. And so again, that's one vein, the prayer walks. But we also have trained sidewalk teams that go out during the weeks. The prayer walks happen on Saturday, but our trained sidewalk teams go out during the week in most of our cities where we exist. And they're there calling out to the moms that are going in. They're there offering literature to those that are going in. They're trying to point them away from the abortion center to a pregnancy center or to a mobile ultrasound unit that might be nearby. And we do have we're forthright in our approach. We say, hey, don't go in there, come here and talk with us. But we also teach kind of a gracious forthrightness, if you will. Like we're very gracious. We want to make sure our countenance shows the love of Jesus, that we're approachable. And our counselors are trained in how to be approachable, but also how to facilitate a conversation with a mom or a dad going into the abortion center. Our sidewalk teams also are trained to minister to abortion workers, to let them know that we're praying for them, to share with them the truth, the reality of what they're involved in. So we don't shy away from the truth. It's not going to be the thing that we lead with, but we will say abortion is murder, that it's wrong. It's not something you should do. And so, that's hopefully that answers your question, kind of the nature of our outreach there.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. If someone's listening and they want their church to get involved in this network, what should they do?
Yeah, so the best thing to do would just be go on our website, lovelife.org. We have 22 and growing cities. So we have 22 official cities, and then we have some that are just started. So they're not official Love Life cities. You can actually go on lovelife.org/locations and see all the locations where we're actively doing prayer walks. Some are doing prayer walks every week, and some are doing prayer walks once a month. And so you can get involved there if you're in a Love Life city or close to a Love Life city. If you're not close to a Love Life city, a very powerful way that you can get involved is getting your church on board with something we call the House of Refuge Initiative. So we have churches across the nation. We're close to 400 churches that have signed up to become houses of refuge. We actually have some House of Refuge churches in other countries as well. In Canada, we have some House of Refuge churches there. We have some House of Refuge churches in Africa. One just came on board in India. We have a couple in Australia. And these are churches essentially that position themselves as a safe place where men and women can run to instead of running to the abortion center. The reality is, Jennifer, that people are running from our churches to the abortion centers. A woman whose parents may go to a particular church and, maybe she's, in her young teens and she finds out that she's pregnant. She thinks, I can't go to the church. They're going to condemn me. They're going to shame me. A House of Refuge church is a church that has committed to twice a year read a statement that essentially clears the air and lets everyone in that congregation, everyone that touches that congregation know where they stand on abortion and unplanned pregnancy. Essentially, the pastor is communicating, we, we don't believe in abortion. We won't support abortion. Um, but if you find yourself in an unplanned pregnancy, we won't shame, judge, or condemn you. This is a safe place that you can come to. We will rally around you and we will support you in as much as we can. And so it just kind of clears the air. It really distinguishes that lie of the enemy that, if I tell my church, or if I go to the church, they're going to shame and condemn me, and says, hey, we're actually not going to do that. We're going to stand with you. And it's a powerful way that people can get involved. And so you can go to lovelife.org/refuge and get some information to sign your church up to become a house of refuge and be actually a network, part of a network of churches that are standing as places of light, places of hope in their communities for those who are in unplanned pregnancies.
I just went to lovelife.org locations to see what Washington had to offer. It looks like our closest one is Whatcom County, which is about 2.5 hours north of me. So this is a great, if you're listening to this and we're in the Seattle area, maybe we need to band together to get Seattle one of these
Yeah,
locations. That'd be great.
absolutely. Yeah, it's something we've been praying for. And at the end of the day, John Maxwell says everything rises and falls on leadership, right? And so if you're out there, you're listening, and you feel called to potentially lead Love Life in Seattle, I would love to have a conversation with you. Our regional director, Sophia Martin, would love to have a conversation with you. We'll jump on a Zoom meeting and talk that through. We would love to start Love Life in Seattle.
And I love thinking too, during COVID, there was so much migration between, especially kind of blue states to red states, right? That's the big joke.
Yeah.
I think California lost a representative in the House. They lost so much of their population, probably to Florida.
Right.
But, those of us that are living in blue states and want to be faithful haven't felt called to leave, or haven't left for work or different things. We
Sure.
really do feel like we have to be faithful and do the things, whatever God's calling us to do, even though it doesn't feel easy, or you feel like you might be the only Christian in a setting. I think that's where it's so important to find each other, to get involved in different ministries, get involved in your church, because you start realizing, A, you're not alone. B, Christians are doing all of these things. I remember also during the 2020, the race riots, and thinking about justice and prison reform. And I was like, why don't Christians care about what's happening in prison? And I go and look up, you go do some searching on the internet, and you find out that Christians are doing justice reform, caring for people in prison. So Christians are doing all these things we're talking about. It's just we have to go find them and get involved. And then maybe we're the person who's supposed to help get it going in our city.
Some of what we've seen. So before 2020, and we began to expand across the United States, we were just on the East Coast. And, for us, I'm a Southern boy here, and I look across the United States, look over on the left coast, and I'm like, man, is anything good happening there? Like, can really any good thing happen in California? And as we began to grow, we began to see in 2021, we actually had our first location in Southern California, in Pomona. They began doing prayer walks there in early 2021. And so many people got on board. I mean, California still is our fastest growing area, Southern California in particular, but also we have a lot of growth in Northern California. And we were just astounded, like, yeah, there's godly people all over the United States, even on the left coast, what we would consider the left coast, and some of the most committed believers, and some of the people that are willing to go out to these places of darkness and to be a voice for the voiceless. It's so amazing. It's so encouraging for us. We've seen more people, because our teams that are on the sidewalks and our teams that are doing prayer walks are also trained to share the gospel with those who are going into the abortion centers. We believe the gospel is what changes human hearts. We've seen more people come to faith in Jesus on the sidewalks in front of abortion clinics in California than any other area. It's amazing. Like, people are literally coming to Jesus in front of places where they were just about to take the life of their child. It's amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome. Could we finish just this conversation with another story of someone who's been impacted by your Love Life work?
Yeah. So, I mean, gosh, there's a lot of stories that I can tell.
You could tell a few too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell a few. So, I mean, I think of there was a pastor in New York City back in 2019. I mean, we think a lot of times of stories of moms. I can share plenty of stories of moms that have chosen life, but some of the stories that hit me the most are pastors who never spoke about life. They've never addressed the issue of abortion because they're afraid to, for whatever reason. They don't want to bring politics into the pulpit. That's the way the enemy has framed it. The enemy meaning the devil has framed it.
Mhm.
And so there was a pastor in New York who really had never spoken about life, never spoken about abortion, but we had a conversation with him and just encouraged him, like, Pastor, you can speak about the issue of life, and you don't have to speak about it in a political way. You don't have to come across as pushing Republican ideas. This is a biblical idea. This is not a political issue. This is a spiritual issue. And he was so burdened. He said at one point, he said, "You know what? You guys are right. I need to talk about this issue. It's affecting my congregation. People in my congregation have abortions in their past. And if I don't talk about it, I'm not talking about one of the main issues, one of the number one moral issues of my day." And he said it came to the point where he believed that God was speaking to his heart in such a way where if his entire ministry hinged on the fact that he needed to speak about the issue of life, and he did. And it changed his congregation. People in his congregation that had abortions in their past got set free from past abortions. People who wanted to speak with their neighbors and with others about the value of human life were empowered and emboldened to do that. And we're talking about Manhattan. We're talking about New York City, right? And pastors in New York City are now talking about the issue of life, who had not previously talked about the issue of life. And so that's just a powerful story of what the Lord can do. I think of another story. This kind of pertains to the House of Refuge initiative that I talked about. A pastor here in the Charlotte area, Pastor Tyson, who's one of our partnering pastors, and it's Vision Church. He's a pastor of, and they're a House of Refuge church. They've come out to many of our prayer walks here in Charlotte, and again, Pastor Tyson is just on fire, and he loves what we're doing. Of course, we love what he's doing, and so he read the statement that I mentioned. And actually, you can go on our website. I encourage you guys to go on there, lovelife.org/refuge, and read the statement that we're asking pastors to read. And so he read that statement, as he does twice a year. And little did he know, in his congregation was actually a Planned Parenthood worker, a lady that had been attending his church for the past couple of weeks. And so, she just so happened, air quotes, to be there when he reads the statement. And she was convicted that, wow, I'm working for an industry that actually takes the lives of children, that destroys families. And she quit because he read that simple statement. He didn't preach a whole message about abortion. He just read a simple statement. It takes about 2 minutes to read or less. And she was convicted and quit working at Planned Parenthood because her pastor, or the pastor of the church she'd been attending, read that statement. So that's just a powerful story of what can happen when a pastor just is willing to speak. And then I'll close up with another story. This happened actually a couple of years ago. And there was a young lady at one of the abortion centers we would reach out at who was being pressured by her boyfriend to have an abortion. She was actually found out she was having twins, which is pretty remarkable. She went into the abortion center and took the abortion pill. Again, her boyfriend was pressuring her. And just as she was taking that abortion pill, it was in the back of her mind, like, why am I doing this? I don't really want to do it. And my boyfriend wants me to do this. He's not even a man that's willing to stand up for his child. Like, why would I do this for him and sacrifice my kids for him? She took the medication just as she was having that thought, and immediately regretted it when she took that medication. On her way out of the abortion center, brokenhearted, tears in her eyes, she heard someone call out to her, "If you took the abortion pill, that medication can be reversed, abortionpillreversal.com." And so she actually pulled over on the side of the road up the street a little bit, went to abortionpillreversal.com, and got connected to actually my wife, who's a registered nurse here in the Charlotte area,
Mhm.
got connected with her and began the abortion pill reversal process. And her twin daughters were saved from abortion, from the abortion pill, like after she
Wow.
had already taken it.
Yeah.
And so that's just an amazing story. And all it took was just a little voice that, as she was driving out, someone said abortionpillreversal.com. And
Mhm.
that's just, again, the power of just using your voice. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have all the complex arguments figured out and all the answers to every question, but just using your voice in a small way can affect change in such a way where literally human beings can be saved from death.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's just a couple of stories of impact. that the Lord has let us be a part of.
I love it. So beautiful. It's so encouraging to see just the work that Christians are doing around the world,
Yeah.
around the country in this topic. So, yeah, I recommend everyone go to lovelife.org, check it out, see if it's in your city, get connected. We'll put these links in our show as well. Daniel, it'll be fun to meet you in October,
Yeah. Looking forward
and
to it.
yeah, at the Abundant Life Conference, which we'll also put a link to that in. So, yeah, if folks in the Seattle area are interested, you can come to that. It'll be a big conference. Well, because Katie's speaking and, folks like Daniel are speaking, we're kind of covering that life and marriage to family thing, from in the womb, out of the womb, marriage and family. All those issues are pretty tied together. And so there'll be a lot of
Yeah.
different interesting topics covered.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Daniel, so much for your time. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you later in October.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it too. God bless. Thanks for the opportunity to share.